Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today we'll explore Christopher Columbus, what motivated his journey, what happened during his voyages, and the huge impact those events had on Europe and the Americas. Christopher Columbus, the man who changed the world by mistake. A world history story by the perfect professor. Part 1. A world that thought it was complete. History often remembers those who know exactly what they're doing. Christopher Columbus was not one of them. And yet, few individuals altered the course of human history as profoundly as Christopher Columbus. Not because he understood the world, but because the world misunderstood itself. The world before Columbus. By the late 15th century, Europe believed it understood the map of reality. The known world had edges. Europe, Asia, Africa. Trade connected them. Religion explained them. Empires competed within them. What lay beyond the oceans was not unknown. It was assumed irrelevant. That assumption was about to collapse. Europe after the Middle Ages. Europe was restless. The old feudal order was cracking. New monarchies sought wealth. Trade routes to Asia were expensive and controlled by rivals. Spices, silk, and gold flowed east to west, but slowly and at great cost. Europe wanted shortcuts, an obsession with the East. Asia represented everything Europe desired: wealth, knowledge, luxury. The problem was distance. Overland routes were dangerous. Maritime routes around Africa were long and uncertain. What if there was another way? A dangerous idea. Columbus believed the Earth was round. That part was not revolutionary. What was revolutionary and wrong was his calculation. He believed Asia lay much closer to Europe by sailing west. He underestimated the size of the planet. He overestimated human certainty. A man without status. Columbus was not royalty, not a scholar of prestige, not backed by institutions. He was persistent, rejected repeatedly, mocked by experts, ignored by courts. But history often turns not on brilliance, but on refusal to stop. Faith, ambition, and certainty. Columbus was driven by more than curiosity. He believed destiny favored him. He believed God had chosen him. He believed wealth and salvation were connected. Exploration for him was not neutral. It was moral. Spain takes the risk. Eventually, Spain agreed. Not because Columbus was convincing, but because the risk was acceptable. 3 ships, limited funding, a gamble against rivals. Failure would cost little. Success could change everything. The moment before the unknown. In 1492, Columbus sailed west. Not into mystery, but into confidence. He did not expect to find a new world. He expected to reach Asia. History would prove him wrong, and reward him anyway. Professor's reflection: when error becomes destiny. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. He collided with it. History is not always shaped by those who are correct, but by those whose mistakes arrive at the right moment. The world was about to expand. Not gently, violently, irreversibly. Part 2: Discovery, Collision, and First Contact. The Atlantic did not welcome Columbus. It tested him. Weeks passed without land. Supplies dwindled. Fear crept quietly through the crew. The ocean revealed a truth sailors already knew. Maps and long before reality does. A journey built on miscalculation. Columbus sailed west with absolute confidence. Not because the journey was safe, but because he believed it was short. Every day, without land, contradicted his certainty. Crew members whispered mutiny. Navigation grew tense. Promises were made to turn back. Then, land appeared. Not Asia. Something else. The first landing. In October 1492, Columbus stepped onto an island in the Caribbean. He believed he had reached the outskirts of Asia. He was wrong, but error did not slow him. It accelerated history. He named the inhabitants Indians, a mistake that would persist for centuries. Misunderstanding became classification. A world misread. Everything Columbus observed contradicted expectation. No grand Asian cities. No spices he sought. No emperors waiting to negotiate. Instead, small communities, different customs, no familiar structures of European power. Rather than question his assumptions, Columbus reinterpreted reality to fit them. This decision mattered more than discovery itself. First contact was not equal. Columbus did not encounter emptiness. He encountered civilizations, but power shaped perception. Europeans arrived with steel, horses, and weapons unknown to the indigenous world. The imbalance was immediate. Curiosity turned into dominance. Difference turned into hierarchy. From encounter to possession, Columbus claimed land not by negotiation, but by declaration. Flags were raised. Names were imposed. Ownership was assumed. This was not exploration as exchange. It was exploration as entitlement. Gold changes everything. Columbus found little gold, but he found enough to trigger obsession. Gold transformed Spain's interest from curiosity to extraction. What began as exploration became exploitation. People became resources. Land became inventory. Violence was not accidental. Conflict followed quickly. Forced labor, punishment, brutality justified as discipline. Columbus did not arrive intending genocide, but his system made it possible. Mistake layered upon mistake, until violence became policy. Why this moment was irreversible? The encounter between Europe and the Americas could not be undone. Disease traveled faster than ships. Populations collapsed without resistance. Societies shattered without war. Connection brought catastrophe. Professors' reflection. Discovery without understanding. Columbus discovered land. He did not understand it. History's most devastating changes often begin this way, with confidence unsupported by knowledge. Discovery without humility does not expand the world. It conquers it. Part 3. Conquest without conscience. Discovery becomes conquest the moment power replaces curiosity. For Christopher Columbus, that moment arrived quickly. What he could not understand, he controlled. What he could not find, he extracted. What resisted, he punished. From explorer to governor, Columbus returned to the Caribbean not as a sailor, but as an administrator. Titles followed. Authority expanded. Expectations rose. Spain did not want stories. It wanted results. Gold, land, labor. Columbus was expected to deliver all three. The birth of forced labor. When gold proved scarce, Columbus improvised. Indigenous populations were forced into labor systems designed to extract value from land and people alike. Quotas were imposed. Punishments were public. Resistance was crushed. This was not chaos. It was organized exploitation. Violence as management. Brutality was not random. It was administrative. Fear maintained order. Examples discouraged rebellion. Cruelty became efficiency. Columbus justified these methods as necessary discipline. History would recognize them as the foundations of colonial violence. Religion as justification. Conscience requires resistance. Columbus neutralized conscience with belief. Conversion was framed as salvation. Control was framed as guidance. Punishment was framed as correction. Religion became moral cover for economic ambition. This pattern would repeat across continents. Disease as an unseen weapon. The greatest devastation was invisible. European diseases, smallpox, measles, influenza, spread uncontrollably. Indigenous populations had no immunity. Communities collapsed without battle. Cultures vanished without resistance. Columbus did not unleash disease intentionally, but he benefited from its consequences. A system larger than one man. It is tempting to isolate blame, but Columbus did not act alone. He operated within a system that rewarded extraction, not restraint. Spain demanded profit. Europe demanded expansion. Competition demanded speed. Morality was a delay no one wanted. The beginning of a pattern. What began in the Caribbean became a template. Exploration claim. Claim control. Control exploitation. This sequence defined the age of colonization. Columbus did not invent it. He normalized it, resistance and collapse. Indigenous resistance never ceased. But steel, disease, and political fragmentation made sustained opposition impossible. Collapse followed, not because of inferiority, but because of asymmetry. Professor's reflection: when systems reward cruelty, Columbus's legacy is uncomfortable because it exposes a truth. Individuals matter, but systems decide outcomes. When profit rewards cruelty, cruelty becomes policy. Columbus did not need to be uniquely evil. He only needed to be effective. Part 4: Fame, Failure, and the Man History Rewrote. History often rewards results, not methods. For a time, Christopher Columbus was celebrated. Titles multiplied. Wealth flowed. His name echoed across courts. But success built on suffering is unstable, and Columbus's authority began to collapse under its own weight. Power exposes character. As governor, Columbus proved unable to manage the world he helped unleash. Administration failed. Corruption spread. Violence escalated. Even Spanish settlers, beneficiaries of conquest, complained of misrule. Order gave way to resentment, not from the conquered alone, but from the conquerors. The arrest of a hero. Reports reached Spain. Abuse of power. Cruelty. Incompetence. The crown responded. Columbus was arrested, chained, and sent back to Spain, not as a discoverer, but as a disgraced official. For a man who believed destiny favored him, this moment was devastating. History had turned. Ambition without reflection. Columbus never admitted error. Not about the land, not about the people, not about the consequences. Even in disgrace, he insisted he had reached Asia. Reality contradicted him. He ignored it. Certainty, once useful, became blindness. The birth of a myth. Columbus died believing he had achieved greatness. He did not know how history would remember him. Myths followed quickly. The brave explorer, the discoverer of a new world, the hero of progress. Complexity vanished. Suffering was erased. Convenient narratives replaced uncomfortable truths. Why the myth persisted? Empires need heroes. They sanitize origins. They simplify stories. They reward outcomes. Columbus became a symbol, not of understanding, but of expansion. His mistakes were reframed as courage, his brutality as necessity, his failure as destiny. This rewriting mattered, because myths justify repetition. The man versus the impact. Columbus was not uniquely cruel by the standards of his time. He was typical, and that is precisely why he matters. He represents a system where ignorance met power and power prevailed. History is not shaped only by monsters. It is shaped by ordinary ambition given extraordinary reach. What Columbus did not control. Columbus did not control what followed. Transatlantic slavery, colonial empires, global exploitation, cultural erasure. These systems expanded beyond him, but they began with his collision. Professor's reflection: when memory becomes selective. The most dangerous thing about Columbus is not what he did. It is how comfortably history forgets it. When societies choose myth over truth, they prepare the ground for repetition. Columbus does not ask to be admired or condemned. He asks to be understood. Part 5: The World Columbus Unleashed. History is rarely shaped by intention. It is shaped by consequence. What followed Columbus was larger than exploration, larger than Spain, and larger than any single empire. It was a transformation of the entire planet. The Columbian Exchange. After 1492, the world's ecosystems collided. Plants, animals, people, and diseases crossed oceans for the first time at scale. From the Americas to Europe came potatoes, maize, tomatoes, tobacco. From Europe to the Americas came horses, cattle, wheat, smallpox. This exchange reshaped diets, economies, and populations. It also reshaped power. Food changes the balance of the world. New crops fueled population growth in Europe, Africa, and Asia. Calories increased. Survival improved. Expansion accelerated. The modern world's population explosion traces back to this moment. Columbus did not intend to change global nutrition, but the change was irreversible. Disease as a silent conqueror. The most devastating transfer was biological. Indigenous populations collapsed under diseases they had never encountered. In some regions, over 90% died within decades. No armies could have achieved this. No conquest was so total. The world changed not through battle, but through immunity. Slavery becomes global. As indigenous populations declined, European powers turned elsewhere. Africa became the source of forced labor. The transatlantic slave trade followed established routes of conquest and profit. Human beings became commodities. This system would define global inequality for centuries. Columbus did not invent slavery, but his voyages globalized it. The birth of the modern economy. Silver from the Americas flowed into Europe and Asia. Markets expanded. Currencies stabilized. Global trade networks emerged. Capitalism's foundations took shape. The modern economic system was not designed. It emerged chaotically, violently, and unevenly. A world that could no longer be separate. After Columbus, isolation ended. No continent could remain untouched. No culture could remain independent of global forces. The world became a single system, unequal, connected, and interdependent. Global history began here. Why this was not progress alone. Technological and economic growth came at extraordinary cost. Cultures were erased. Languages disappeared. Worldviews were destroyed. Modernity was not gentle. It was built on imbalance. Columbus as a turning point, not a hero. Columbus stands at the edge of eras. Behind him, a fragmented world. Ahead of him, a connected one. He did not design the future. He triggered it. Professor's reflection: when actions outrun intentions. Columbus teaches a difficult lesson. You do not need to understand the world to change it. You only need the power to act upon it. The consequences will follow, long after you are gone. Part 6. The mistake that became the modern world. History often demands simple judgments. Heroes or villains. Success or failure. Progress or tragedy. Christopher Columbus fits none of these categories cleanly. He was not a visionary of global unity. He was not a mastermind of modernity. He was a man who acted with certainty and unleashed consequences he neither predicted nor controlled. Columbus did not create the modern world. He opened the door. Others rushed through it. Empires followed. Markets expanded. Violence multiplied. Knowledge traveled. Columbus did not design these outcomes. But without his collision, they would not have unfolded the way they did. Timing matters in history. His mistake arrived at the exact moment Europe was ready to expand outward, economically, politically, and militarily. Why his error mattered more than his skill. Columbus was not the best navigator of his age. He was not the most accurate thinker. He was wrong about geography, distance, the lands he encountered. And yet, history pivoted on his miscalculation. This reveals an uncomfortable truth. History does not always reward accuracy. It rewards momentum. Columbus moved first, with enough backing to make error irreversible. The birth of an unequal world. The modern world emerged from this moment, but unevenly. Some regions accumulated wealth. Others lost autonomy. Some gained power. Others paid the price. Global inequality was not an accident. It was structured. The systems born after 1492 distributed benefits unevenly and locked those patterns in place for centuries. Why Columbus is still contested. Columbus remains controversial because he sits at the origin of modern identity. Nations built themselves on his myth. Communities suffered from his consequences. Celebration feels dishonest. Condemnation feels incomplete. He represents neither pure evil nor noble progress. He represents impact without understanding. The difference between change and wisdom. Columbus changed the world. He did not improve it consciously. Change and wisdom are not the same. Modernity inherited incredible tools. Technology.
Trade.
Knowledge. It also inherited unresolved trauma.
Exploitation.
Displacement. Inequality. Columbus's legacy forces us to confront both. What this story asks of the present. The world today is more connected than ever. Faster than the Silk Road. Broader than the Mongol Empire. More powerful than any age before. Columbus reminds us that connection alone is not virtue. Power without humility multiplies harm. The question history now asks is not what Columbus did, but what we do with the world that followed. Final reflection. When history moves faster than morality, Christopher Columbus did not set out to build the modern world. He set out to reach Asia. He failed, and in that failure, the world expanded beyond imagination. History's greatest turning points are often not acts of genius. They are acts of confidence colliding with reality. The consequences outlive the mistake. Closing words from the perfect professor. History is not a courtroom. It is a record of cause and effect. Christopher Columbus stands not as a hero to be honored, nor a villain to be simplified, but as a reminder that ignorance paired with power reshapes the world faster than wisdom ever could. Lessons from the past. Stories for the present. Before we end, I have a question for you. What was the biggest impact of Columbus's voyages? Trade, global connection, colonization, or something else? Let me know in the comments. That's all for today's video on Christopher Columbus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.